Saturn's rings are dying. They didn't exist when dinosaurs walked the Earth, and in another 100 million years, they will be gone forever. We are watching in real time the disappearance of the most recognizable feature in our solar system. And almost nobody on Earth knows it's happening. For 400 years, every textbook, every encyclopedia, every grainy image transmitted from deep space has shown the same thing. Saturn, the ringed planet. And it turns out, it shouldn't be there at all. In 1610, Galileo Galilei pointed his small telescope at Saturn for the first time. What he saw confused him. He described two large appendages attached to the planet's sides, like ears or handles. He thought Saturn was a triple body. The resolution of his telescope was too low to see what was actually happening. 49 years later, in 1659, the Dutch astronomer Cassini-Huygens looked at the same planet with a far better instrument. He was the first human to correctly identify what he was seeing: a flat, separate disk of material encircling Saturn, not touching the planet itself. For 300 years after that, the rings remained a curiosity. We knew they existed. We knew they were complicated. We did not know what they were made of. We did not know how old they were. We assumed, because it was the simplest assumption, that they had been there since Saturn itself formed 4.5 billion years ago. We were wrong. In 1980 and 1981, the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft flew past Saturn and returned the first close-up images humans had ever seen. The rings were not one solid sheet. They were thousands of distinct bands. There were gaps inside them swept clean by small embedded moons. There were structures, waves, spokes, propeller-shaped disturbances that did not match anything that had been predicted by theory. But the most important discoveries about Saturn's rings were not made by Voyager. They were made by Cassini-Huygens. In 2004, the Cassini spacecraft entered orbit around Saturn and stayed there for 13 years. It mapped the rings in detail no one had imagined possible. It measured their composition, it measured their mass, and in its final years, it produced the numbers that broke everything we thought we knew. Saturn's rings are made of 99% water ice, pure, clean, unweathered water ice. Almost no contamination from cosmic dust, almost no organic compounds, almost no rocky material mixed in. This sounds like a small detail. It is not. Saturn has been sitting in the solar system exposed to 4.5 billion years of meteorite bombardment and interplanetary dust accumulation. If the rings had been there the entire time, they should be filthy. They should be a dirty grey, packed with the residue of every comet, every micrometeoroid, every dust grain that crossed their path across geological time. They are not filthy, they are bright, they are clean. They are, on a cosmic timescale, brand new. In 2019, a research team led by planetary scientist Luciano Iess at Sapienza University in Rome published a paper in the journal Science using gravity measurements from Cassini. By precisely tracking how Cassini's trajectory was bent by the rings during its final orbits, they calculated the total mass of the ring system. The rings are not heavy. They contain only about 40% the mass of Saturn's small moon Mimas, itself one of the smaller moons in the outer solar system. Combined with the purity of the ice, the mass measurement gave a clear answer. Saturn's rings are between 10 million and 100 million years old. Maximum. Worth pausing here. Let me put a number on what young means at that scale. The dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago. Modern humans appeared 300,000 years ago. Saturn's rings are, by the highest estimates, about as old as the era when mammals first began spreading across continents emptied by the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. By the lowest estimates, they are younger than the human species itself. Saturn formed 45 times longer ago than its rings. For 98% of Saturn's existence, it had no rings. The image we have of the ringed planet is, in cosmic terms, brand new. It gets worse. The rings are not just young, they are actively disappearing. In 2018, a team led by James O. Donoghue at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center published a paper measuring something called ring rain. Charged particles from the rings are being pulled down into Saturn's upper atmosphere along the planet's magnetic field lines. The mechanism is simple. The rings are made of water ice. Sunlight strips electrons from the ice surface. The charged particles get caught in Saturn's magnetic field. They fall. O'Donoghue's team measured the rate. Saturn's rings are losing approximately 10,000 kilograms of mass every second. A fully loaded dump truck of ice falling into Saturn's atmosphere every 6 seconds. 2,500 dump trucks every day, almost 1 million dump trucks every year. At that rate, the rings have somewhere between 100 million and 300 million years before they are gone entirely. Compared to the 4.5 billion year lifespan of the solar system so far, that is a flicker. If a Saturnian astronomer looked at the planet's timeline, the rings would be a brief, anomalous flash in the middle of an otherwise empty history. A few percent of the planet's age, and then nothing. If the rings are this young, where did they come from? For decades, the leading guess was a comet. A comet wandering too close to Saturn would be shattered by tidal forces, the planet's gravity pulling harder on one side of the comet than the other, ripping it apart. The debris would spread into an orbital disk and become the rings. It was a clean explanation. It was, unfortunately, wrong. The problem is the composition. A comet contains rock. It contains organic compounds. It contains frozen gases other than water. Saturn's rings are almost entirely water ice. A comet origin does not fit the data. In 2022, a team led by Jack Wisdom at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology proposed something stranger. They published a paper in Science arguing that Saturn once had an additional moon, a large one, roughly the size of the moon Iapetus. They named it Chrysalis. In their model, gravitational interactions with Saturn's other moons slowly destabilized Chrysalis's orbit over hundreds of millions of years. About 100 million years ago, Chrysalis was pulled in too close to its parent planet. It crossed what is called the Roche limit, the distance at which a planet's tidal forces exceed a moon's own gravitational integrity. Inside the Roche limit, any moon disintegrates. Chrysalis was torn apart. The icy interior of the destroyed moon spread into an orbital disk around Saturn. That disk became the rings. If Wisdom's model is right, and it is currently the most widely accepted explanation for the ring composition problem, then Saturn's rings are not the leftover material of a planet's formation. They are the corpse of a moon we never knew existed, that no human ever saw, that died around the same time the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs was approaching Earth. Here is what this means in practical terms. Every other gas giant in our solar system has rings. Jupiter has rings, faint, dusty ones. Uranus has rings, narrow, dark, almost invisible. Neptune has rings, broken arcs, barely a system at all. None of them have anything remotely like Saturn's, and astronomers do not believe any of them ever did. Saturn's rings are not the default state of a gas giant. They are an exception, a coincidence, a specific, time-bound feature of one particular planet captured in one particular geological epoch. We are living in the only period of solar system history when this view exists. For the first 4.5 billion years, Saturn had no rings, or had something faint and unremarkable. For the next 4 billion years after we are gone, Saturn will have no rings again. The window we are inside, the window during which Saturn looks like Saturn, is a narrow strip of cosmic time. We happen to be alive in it. If a future civilization billions of years from now finds old human records and sees a photograph of Saturn, they will assume we drew it wrong. They will assume we were imagining things because by then the rings will be gone. The planet will be a smooth, banded gas giant, indistinguishable in profile from Neptune. The most photographed object in our solar system will look completely different. This is, honestly, one of the most disorienting facts in modern planetary science. We assume the things we see in the sky are permanent. The sun is permanent on human timescales. The constellations are permanent on human timescales. Even continents are permanent on human timescales. But the rings are not. The rings of Saturn are not a permanent feature of our solar system. They are a temporary one. They are dying. They will be gone. And almost no one on Earth looking up at the night sky tonight knows it. The Cassini spacecraft was deliberately destroyed in 2017 to prevent it from contaminating Saturn's moons with Earthborne microbes. Its final mission, in its final months, was to dive between Saturn and the inner edge of the rings, measuring them in greater detail than any spacecraft ever had or ever will again. The data from those final orbits is what gave us the age. It is what gave us the mass. It is what told us, finally, that we were looking at a corpse. The rings are dying. We are watching it. And in the cosmic window we are alive in, that is the only thing we know for certain. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.